This is the Focus Shift podcast, your best listening experience for creating your best online business. We'll focus on topics that help you get discovered. So sit back, listen, take notes if you like, and get excited about growing your business.
You know, if you really think about it, going to the library like 20 or 30 years ago was a very mechanical process.
Oh, absolutely. Very step by step.
Right. You would pull open those long, heavy wooden drawers of the card catalog. You'd flip through to a broad category, maybe photography, and you would just find this static list of index cards.
Yeah, highly categorized, but completely fragmented.
Exactly. And for the last 2 decades, that is exactly how we've interacted with the internet.
It was entirely transactional. You know, you typed in a fragmented sort of caveman-style keyword, something like wedding photographer Raleigh, and the search engine essentially just handed you a drawer full of index cards.
A massive list of blue links.
Right, a massive list. It didn't solve your problem at all. It just handed you the raw materials and forced you to do all the heavy lifting of sifting through them.
Right. But imagine if, instead of that wooden card catalog, you walked into the library and a brilliantly well-read concierge met you at the door.
I love this analogy.
Yeah, so you wouldn't just shout a category at them, right? You'd explain your whole situation. You'd say, listen, I'm getting married in October. It's an outdoor venue. We have a huge wedding party. And I need a photographer who specializes in candid documentary-style shots.
You're giving them the full picture.
Exactly. And that concierge listens, instantly synthesizes like a dozen different books, and just hands you the exact, perfectly summarized answer along with 3 specific recommendations.
And that brilliantly well-read concierge is generative engine optimization, or GEO. And the stakes here are incredibly high.
Because if you aren't doing it right...
Because if you don't know how to talk to that concierge, your business essentially doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are looking at a massive behavioral shift being driven by tools like Google AI Overviews, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini.
The big ones, yeah.
Right, and they are actively summarizing answers and directly recommending businesses to users. So we are pulling our insights today from some really fascinating data that SEMrush and Search Engine Land just put out, alongside a really comprehensive guide making the rounds by PhotoBiz.
Yeah, that guide on AI search optimization for creative professionals.
That's the one. Our mission for today's deep dive is to figure out exactly how this underlying mechanism works so, you can adapt without getting buried in tech fatigue. Because nobody wants that.
No one has time for that.
Yeah.
And we really need to look at the mechanics of this, because the internet is no longer a digital filing cabinet. It is an answer engine.
An answer engine. I like that phrasing.
Right. To understand how to optimize a website for it, you first have to understand the underlying mechanism of how the AI processes natural language. It's not matching strings of text anymore.
It's matching intent.
Exactly. It's matching intent.
So let's start with that user behavior. We've moved away from the caveman keywords. People are typing full-blown conversations into these prompts.
They are demanding rich context. If someone is looking for a service, they aren't typing family photographer anymore. They just aren't.
What are they doing instead?
They are giving the AI an entire persona and scenario. They're typing something like, I have a highly energetic toddler and a newborn. Who are the best family photographers in Greensboro who know how to handle chaotic outdoor sessions? And what should I expect to pay?
Which goes right back to our concierge analogy.
It really does.
If you walked up to a real human concierge at a hotel and they asked what you do for a living, you wouldn't just shout, Atlanta Newborn Studio at them.
That would be so weird.
It would be. You would use full sentences. You'd say, I run a newborn photography studio in Atlanta, and I specialize in in-home lifestyle sessions where I bring the lighting equipment to the client.
But it goes even deeper than that. You aren't just communicating in full sentences. You are establishing your website as a recognizable source of answers.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, what's fascinating here is how the AI actually constructs its response to the user. It doesn't just pull from one definitive source.
It doesn't just read one article and spit it back.
No, not at all. Yeah. It uses what's called a retrieval augmented generation process.
Okay, that sounds very technical. RG.
Yeah, RG.
Yeah.
Eventually, it reaches out across the web in real time. It pulls a fragment from a blog post here, a pricing tier from a directory listing over there, and synthesizes them simultaneously.
Wow. So if your website just has a sparse portfolio of beautiful images and a contact form that says, email for pricing, the AI essentially hits a brick wall.
A total brick wall.
It needs context to feed back to the user, and you gave it nothing.
Exactly. And the AI is incredibly impatient. If it can't instantly extract the who, what, where, why, and how from your site to answer that Greensboro mother's hyper-specific question,
It just moves on.
it simply abandons your page.
Yeah.
It pulls the data from a competitor who actually took the time to explain their process.
Ouch. Okay, so if the AI is that impatient and it demands conversational context, how do we physically serve those answers up on a web page? I mean, creative professionals are inherently visual.
Very true.
They don't want massive walls of text ruining the aesthetic of their carefully designed sites.
This is where we have to talk about page architecture. AI tools need structure just as much as human readers do, perhaps even more.
Because they're basically scanning it, right?
Right. A page with one giant, unbroken narrative block is computationally expensive for an AI to parse. The guide from PhotoBiz points out that you need to use the structural language of the web.
Like headings and stuff.
Exactly. Distinct H2 and H3 headings, short paragraphs, bulleted lists.
Let's clarify that for a second because we hear H2 tags a lot in traditional SEO. For the listener, these aren't just font sizes.
No, they aren't just design choices.
Right. Think of them as the skeletal outline that AI scans before it decides to read the meat of your page.
That's a perfect way to look at it. It creates a strict hierarchy of information. SEMrush specifically recommends taking this a step further by using question-style headings.
Question-style headings. Like an FAQ.
Kind of, yeah. So instead of a generic vague heading like the experience, you build the skeleton of the page with an H2 that says, what is included in a newborn session? Or how does the booking process work?
Oh, I see.
It explicitly flags to the AI here is the exact answer to the question your user is asking.
Hold on, though. I want to challenge this advice a bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the source material explicitly tells creative professionals to write direct answers first. The example they give is that instead of starting a paragraph with something atmospheric like, every couple's love story is uniquely beautiful, and capturing the fleeting moments of your wedding day is my ultimate passion.
Which sounds lovely, by the way.
It does, but the guide says you should start immediately with, most couples book their Raleigh wedding photography 9 to 12 months in advance.
Right.
If I'm a wedding photographer, my entire brand is romance, aesthetics, and storytelling. If I just slap cold, hard logistical facts at the top of the page, aren't I completely killing the vibe? I mean, I'm trying to sell an emotion, not an instruction manual.
That's a really fair point, and that conflict between aesthetic branding and algorithmic efficiency is the biggest hurdle for creatives.
It just feels so clinical.
It does. But you aren't being asked to eliminate your artistic voice. You're being asked to prioritize the delivery mechanism. You have to remember how an AI reads.
How does it read?
It reads sequentially, and it prioritizes the first sentence under a heading to determine relevance. If you bury the logistical answer, like the price, the timeline, the location sounder, 3 paragraphs deep beneath poetic scene setting,
The AI misses it entirely.
the AI might classify the page as irrelevant to the user's direct query before it ever gets to your facts.
So it's about providing the executive summary and then diving into the novel.
Precisely. You satisfy the algorithm first, then you seduce the human. Most couples book their Raleigh wedding photography 9 to 12 months in advance. Boom! The AI has its data point.
It knows exactly what this paragraph is about.
Yes. Then the very next sentence is where you bring the romance. Because every couple's love story is unique, securing your date early allows us to carefully plan the atmospheric, documentary-style moments of your day.
Oh, that flows really nicely, actually.
Right. You give the AI the conversational data it's hunting for instantly without sacrificing your brand's emotional resonance.
And the guide mentions an incredibly practical shortcut for doing this, which is adding robust FAQ sections on your service pages. This makes total sense to me.
It's such a quick win.
If users are typing questions into Perplexity or ChatGPT, and you have an FAQ section that perfectly mirrors those exact questions like, what happens if it rains during our outdoor session, or when will I receive my final gallery, you are literally providing the AI with prepackaged training data.
You're doing the work for it. It removes all the friction. But here's the catch. Having a perfectly structured website with brilliant FAQs is really only half the battle.
Wait, really? What's the other half?
If we look at the broader mechanics of generative search, the AI has a massive trust issue. It needs to verify you.
Right, because an AI doesn't just read your website in a vacuum and take your word for it. It's inherently skeptical.
Extremely skeptical. Search Engine Land's data shows that generative engine optimization heavily relies on off-site trust signals.
Off-site meaning things not on your own website.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Let's say your perfectly structured H2 tag claims you are the best family photographer in Greensboro. The AI notes that claim, but before it confidently recommends you to a user, it cross-references that claim against the rest of the internet. It looks for entity resolution.
Entity resolution. Let's break that down for the listener.
It basically means the AI is trying to prove that the business entity named on your website actually exists in the real world and is valued by the community. It looks for your footprint.
So things like Google reviews.
Yes. Are you active on Google business profiles? Are you listed in local directories or niche sites like The Knot or Wedding Wire? Do you have Yelp reviews? Are you mentioned in a blog post by a local florist?
Oh, so it's cross-referencing. It says, okay, the website claims they shoot newborn sessions in Atlanta. Let me check Yelp. Yes, here are 20 reviews from verified users in Atlanta talking about their newborn sessions. The story checks out. The off-site data validates the on-site claim.
Exactly. That builds immense confidence within the algorithm. But there's another layer to this confidence, and that is the concept of recency or freshness.
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up because the guide makes a very strong point that AI favors fresh content.
It does.
From a purely practical standpoint, does this mean a busy small business owner has to completely rewrite their entire website every single month just to keep the AI happy? Because honestly, that sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It sounds awful, yeah. It's a common fear. But the underlying mechanics of AI explain why you absolutely don't need to do a monthly overhaul. You just have to understand why recency matters to an AI model.
Okay, why does it care so much?
Large language models have cutoff dates for their training data. They are terrified of serving outdated information to a user, what developers call a hallucination.
Ah, right. It doesn't want to look stupid.
Exactly. If a user asks for a photographer for an upcoming fall wedding, the AI wants to recommend a business it knows is still actively operating right now, not a business that hasn't updated its site since 2019.
So how do you prove you're still alive without rewriting your whole life story?
You just show a pulse. SEMrush notes that keeping content fresh trains the search engine crawlers to visit your site more frequently. Small, consistent updates are the trigger.
Give me some examples of that.
You might go into a blog post from 2 years ago, add a new paragraph about a recent trend, and update the publish date. You might add one new question to your FAQ page based on an email a client just sent you, or simply upload a few recent images to your main portfolio.
Which brings us to a massive, glaring question. We've been talking entirely about text this whole time.
We have.
We are feeding the AI text through FAQs, headings, and blog updates. But if we are talking about creative professionals, photographers, designers, artists, they are selling visuals.
That's their whole product.
Right. If an AI is fundamentally a text processing engine, how on earth does it see a visual portfolio to recommend it?
It doesn't see it the way we do. It relies entirely on the technical translation you provide in the code, namely alt text and schema markup.
Because an AI can't appreciate the lighting or composition.
Right. It cannot appreciate the emotion of a photograph. It is blind to the art.
It's like having a bilingual interpreter whispering in the AI's ear. The AI only speaks code and data. Your image is in the language of visual art. The alt text is the translator.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it.
So if I upload an image and the file name is just wedding_edit_04.jpg, or the alt text is literally just girl photo, the interpreter just shrugs. The AI has no idea what it's looking at, so it ignores it.
Exactly. You have to paint the picture for the interpreter. Instead of girl photo, the alt text needs to be highly descriptive. Something like a high school senior wearing a graduation cap, smiling in front of the brick skyline in downtown Charlotte during golden hour.
Oh, wow. That's very detailed.
You aren't awkwardly stuffing keywords in there either. You are literally translating the visual elements, the who, the what, the location, the context, into the text data the AI requires to file that image correctly in its memory.
And what about schema markup? The SEMrush data heavily recommends it, but I'll be honest, the word schema sounds terrifyingly technical for a creative professional. What is the actual mechanism here?
I get that. Schema markup is essentially a way to bypass the AI's natural language processing.
What do you mean?
Well, normally the AI has to read your paragraphs and use computational power to guess what the page is about. Schema markup is structured data. It's a piece of code that takes your creative text and formats it into a literal database table for the AI. You are handing the AI the answers on a silver platter.
So instead of the AI having to read a paragraph and guess, I think this is a frequently asked question, the schema markup explicitly tags it. It says, attention AI, this next block of text is officially an FAQ. Here is the question, here is the answer.
Exactly. You can use Schema to define a page as an article, a local business, or an FAQ page. It removes zero ambiguity.
But do I have to know how to code to do that?
No, not at all. You don't necessarily have to be a developer. Many modern website platforms have plugins or built-in tools that handle the code behind the scenes. But you have to structure your pages cleanly so those tools know what to label.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The PhotoBiz guide points out that you can actually use AI to optimize your site for AI.
Ooh, this is the best part.
Right. You don't have to sit there staring at a blinking cursor, trying to figure out how to manually write descriptive alt text for a gallery of 80 images. You can use tools like PhotoBiz AI or ChatGPT to do the heavy lifting for you.
It's a huge time saver.
You can feed it your raw thoughts and have it generate blog structures, draft service page outlines, write meta descriptions, and even brainstorm those FAQ questions we talked about.
It is a massive time saver, but this raises a highly critical issue.
Okay, what's the catch?
If the AI is writing the code, outlining the pages, and grafting the text, and every single creative professional in your city starts doing the exact same thing.
How do you stand out?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The internet risks becoming this sea of homogenized, identical AI-generated blurbs.
Yes, the great flattening of the internet. If everyone is using the same concierge to write their pitch, everyone sounds exactly the same.
Which is why the source material provides one final non-negotiable rule. The AI creates the baseline, but the human element is the ultimate differentiator.
The human element.
Right. AI is incredibly good at structure. It can give you the correct headings, the perfect conversational phrasing, and the schema markup. But an AI has no lived experience. It cannot fake the granular details of reality.
Give me an example of that. What does that look like in practice?
Okay, an AI can write a perfectly optimized paragraph about outdoor wedding photography in Raleigh. But only you, the human, can add the hyper-specific, localized detail that makes it real.
Like mentioning a specific park.
Yes. Only you can mention how the light hits the oak trees at the Bradford venue at 5 p.m. in October. Only you can share the specific story of how you helped a groom fix his tie before the first look.
Oh, I see.
It's those micro details, your specific location knowledge, your client anecdotes, your distinct artistic philosophy, that the AI algorithm recognizes as unique, high-value, human-generated information.
So what does this all mean for the listener? If we distill this entire deep dive down, the shift to generative engine optimization isn't about replacing traditional SEO.
No, not at all.
It is expanding it. The underlying mechanics of search have changed from matching keywords to matching intent. To win, you need to anticipate and answer rich, complex questions.
You have to be the source of answers.
Right. You need to provide a skeletal outline using structured headers so the AI can scan efficiently. You need to translate your visuals using descriptive alt text, signal your pulse with frequent small updates, and build your trust footprint across the broader web.
And, above all, you must leverage AI tools to help you build that structural baseline while aggressively injecting your own localized human experience into the final product so you don't sound like a robot.
It's a fundamental shift in how we present our work to the world. But before we wrap up today, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over, something that builds on the underlying mechanics we've explored today, but looks a bit further over the horizon.
Yeah, and this is something every creative really needs to think about. As these answer engines, these incredibly efficient digital concierges, become more and more advanced, they're going to become astonishingly good at summarizing your business.
Almost too good.
Exactly. They might become so effective at synthesizing your FAQs, your pricing, and your offsite reviews that a potential client gets everything they need directly from the search interface. They read the AI summary, get the answer, and make a decision right there.
Which means they never actually click the link to visit your beautifully designed website.
Exactly. We are looking down the barrel of a zero-click future. The search engines will keep the traffic on their own platforms. And this presents a massive existential question for creative professionals.
Because your website is your digital storefront.
Right. If it's where you control the fonts, the color palette, the pacing of the imagery, the specific emotional journey you want a client to experience, what happens when the client never actually enters the store?
Wow. How do you build an emotional human connection with a bride or a mother looking for a family portrait when her only initial interaction with your life's work is a clinical, text-based summary generated by an AI? If the concierge gives away the ending of the book, how do you make the patrons still want to read it?
It forces us to ask what truly constitutes a brand. If your visual aesthetic is stripped away by an AI interface, your brand voice, the actual words you use, the specific stories you tell, the unique human perspective that the AI summarizes becomes your only differentiator. Your text has to carry the entire emotional weight of your visuals.
Wow. If the visual is stripped away, the text becomes the art. That is an incredibly deep challenge and something every creative professional is going to have to navigate much sooner than we think. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope we helped illuminate the mechanics of how the web is changing and, more importantly, why. Take a look at your own website structure this week. Keep questioning the tools, keep exploring the possibilities, and we will see you next time.
The Focus Shift podcast is presented by PhotoBiz, the best website solution for photographers. Whether you're launching your site or scaling your online business, PhotoBiz has your back. To get started for free, visit photobiz.com today.